Major title changes on last night's NXT, the real reason for a massive Money in the Bank change, backstage details on AEW Double or Nothing's main event, and more. I'm Luke Owen and this is the WrestleTalk News.
Support WrestleTalk!
But let's kick off today's WrestleTalk News with some rather heartwarming news, as for a while fans have speculated that AEW stars Konosuke Takeshita and Yuka Sakazaki are married, and the Alpha has recently confirmed these rumors, posting a picture to Instagram of the couple on a beach with their dog and, yes, their wedding rings. He adds in the post, which has been translated, "This is a personal matter, but today I'd like to introduce my family. I'm about to turn 30. I spend my days trying to act like a respectable adult, but there's still so much I can't do. I'm still so inexperienced that it would be quicker to list 100 things I can't do than 100 things I can. My wife Yuka helps me with these 100 things every day without batting an eye. Rather than just giving me a push, she gives me a shove when I need it. She'll always be by my side, sharing both the happy and the sad moments." Congrats to the happy couple, and make sure you spread the love in the comments down below and send them your well wishes, as Takeshita's own stablemate Carl Fletcher didn't seem to want to, posting to Twitter, I'm not sure if he's jealous or jizzing, to be honest. Either way, Yuka Sakazaki replied, "You are rival." Moving over to last night's NXT now, and it was a big show to follow up the tremendous Big Show Battleground at the weekend. TNA's Mike Santana made his WWE debut by beating Ty Von Heights and followed up on his promise from Battleground by later confronting new TNA champion Trick Williams. Santino appeared on the screen to make their title match official for next week's NXT. Massive credit for WWE, who not only gave Santana a match to introduce the audience to him as a wrestler before he challenged for the title, but it also gave him a video package before the match. It really established who Santana is, making his promo segment with the established Trick Williams land much better with a live crowd. Elsewhere, Jada Parker beat Tatum Paxley with a hip attack. Jasper Troy won his debut match against Dante Chen, further setting him up as the next challenger for Obafemi, and it was announced that Miles Bourne will take on Charlie Dempsey next week, where, if Bourne wins, he can leave no quarter catch crew. But bigger news came in the opening match of the night, as Ethan Page beat Ricky Saints to win the men's North American Championship. Given these two didn't have a match on Battleground, they instead had their PLA standard match here on TV, and it was great. Page targeted Saint's neck with a cutter on an upturned chair, and then he snapped the top rope into Ricky's throat and followed that up with another cutter to get the win. It was great heel work by Ethan Page and superb babyface fire from Ricky Saint as he valiantly tried to make his comeback. Those who are Fightful Select subscribers might have figured that Ethan Page was winning, as Corey Brennan had the rundown for the show before it aired, which listed Page cutting a promo later in the broadcast. This promo segment was there to set up another match for Worlds Collide next weekend, where Page will defend his newly won Men's North American Championship against Javon Evans, SmackDown's Rey Fenix, and AAA's Laredo Kid. That will join Legado del Fantasma taking on El Hijo D, Dr. Wagner Jr., Pagano and Psycho Clown, and Vikingo versus Chad Gable for the AAA Mega Championship. And Ava announced on this show that NXT Women's Champion Stephanie Vaquer will team with Lola Vice to take on Dylas and Chick Tormenta. Sorry, hold on, did I say NXT Women's Champion Stephanie Vaquer? Guess not! Yes, there was even bigger news than the Men's North American Championship title switch, as after a fantastic title defense against Jordan Grace of Battleground, Vaquer defended her NXT Women's Championship against JC Jane in the main event of last night's NXT, and despite more dissension between Fatal Influence, Fallon Henley ended up aiding Jane in hitting Vaquer, leading to Jane hitting her rolling elbow to pin the champion and become the new NXT Women's Champion. It was such a shock that even ring announcer Mike Rome looked surprised. It's a curious choice given how much of NXT's women's division has been built around Stephanie as champion since she beat Julia. It's led fans to speculate on two trains of thought. Either this is to build Stephanie doing the classic babyface chase to reclaim her title, or it's a sign that WWE sees bigger things for Vaquer and she'll be called up to the main roster whenever the 2025 draft happens. One other theory is that this is a response from WWE to the low ratings that NXT has had over the last couple of weeks. While last week's ratings was up around 5% in overall viewers, its all-important 18-49 tied with the lowest the show has ever done, continuing the trend that the CW audience for NXT is much older than it was towards the end of its USA Network run. Personally, though, I think these title switches were always the plan, as this was supposed to be part of that big Tampa run, but reportedly low ticket sales led WWE to cancel that TV taping and air it from the Performance Center instead. So given that this was set to be as big of a show for NXT as Battleground was, doing two title switches, including one truly surprising one, does kind of make a lot of sense. But what do you make of the title changes? Let me know in the comments down below. And while you're there, give your own personal shoutouts to our wonderful pledge hammers on Patreon who make so much of this possible, because YouTube ad revenue sucks. But to give them their official shoutouts, here is the always wonderful and always handsome Turbo John.
Hey everyone, it's 80s wrestler Turbo John here. I hope you've turned on your subtitles, put 888 into CFAX so you can understand what I'm talking to you. And I want to thank today's video sponsor, patreon.com/WrestleTalk. An exciting new product here on the World Wide Web that gives you loads of cool, exclusive content. What kind of content could that be, I hear you ask? Well, I will tell you. It will include things like bonus episodes of TLC, The 3 Count, these two jabroni marks, Luke and Ollie, reviewing classic WWE shows like the Rise and Fall of the Nexus, John Cena vs. The Rock, and so many more. They've actually been doing this since 2017. That means there are loads of episodes. I don't know, like 12 at the very least. Gotta be more than that, right? And one of the best things about this amazing product, patreon.com/WrestleTalk, is that cool people made it. And I am going to tell you those people's names. Big Jiggy, Josh Martin, Born to Do It, Evan Shibley, Abominable, Michael Abbott, The Pin, Knuckle of Success, Luke Kelly, The Machine Gun, Alex Anderson, just like me. He's a sexy man, not an Andrew Gross man. Bald and brummy, Brett Linforth, wouldn't know about that. Rebel Yell, Danielle Rios, Evan Rude Dude, and Go Ace, the Ace of Spades, Adrian Santil. Now I want you to go into your search browser bar and type in http://patreon.com/the/1 and you can be just as cool and sexy as me and them.
I mentioned Worlds Collide earlier, but that's not the only show WWE will be presenting on June 7th, as Money in the Bank will take place in the evening. Along with the two Money in the Bank lineups, we've got Becky Lynch versus Lyra Valkyria for the Women's Intercontinental Championship and a tag match of Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso versus John Cena and Logan Paul. Cody Rhodes returned to WWE on Saturday night during the main event of Saturday night's main event, where he laid out the tag match challenge, but if reports from last week are to be believed, this was not the original plan. The week after WrestleMania, the Wrestling Observer reported that WWE were planning a tag match with John Cena and Travis Scott down the line, and PW Insider reported it would happen at Money in the Bank, with talks of Cena and Scott tagging with Logan Paul to take on Cody Rhodes and the Usos, with WrestleVote adding that Scott wrestling at Money in the Bank had been in the works before WrestleMania. There have also been lots of reports that Travis Scott had been training with Booker T's Reality of Wrestling for the match. But Travis Scott isn't wrestling at Money in the Bank, so what's happened? Well, maybe we should ask the most reliable of voices in this space, Jonathan Coachman. On Behind the Turnbuckle, Coachman claims it was supposed to be Travis Scott, but Travis Scott, we are hearing, is flaking. It's very widely known that Travis Scott was supposed to be training with Booker T and he was supposed to be in this tag match, and so now they're scrambling to figure this out. Coachman continues by saying that he has it on good authority that the tag match at Money in the Bank will set up the original six-man tag plans, which will now take place at SummerSlam. But like I said, Coachman has been known to say, a lot of things on his podcast on good authority, so maybe take all of this with a pinch of salt. We'd heard third-hand information that there were disagreements during Scott's training with Reality of Wrestling, but I'd give that as much credence as I would Coachman on a podcast. Over in All Elite Wrestling now, and it will likely come as no surprise that there's a report from PW Insider that morale is rather high in AEW right now following the tremendous Double or Nothing show from this past weekend. The site reports that the general consensus among talent was Double or Nothing was one of the best top-to-bottom presentations from the company in some time, which is quite something given their brilliant run of pay-per-views in 2025. One talent said a standout moment from the show was the use of Drowning Pool's bodies during the Anarchy in the Arena match, calling it one of the coolest moments ever. A hard agree from this near 40-year-old nu metal fan. Fightful Select corroborated this report, adding in their own separate report, we were told the general feeling about the event was overwhelmingly positive. This continues to match up with the reports we've got from Backstage speaking about how good the morale in the company has been. But maybe not everything was all sunshines and lollipops and rainbows and everything that's wonderful, as Brian Alvarez noted on Wrestling Observer Radio that those he spoke to in AEW loved the show, but felt that the 4.5-hour runtime was too long. And this has been a consistent criticism of AEW since their pay-per-view debut 6 years ago, and Alvarez added, the shows are too long. Everyone knows it except Tony Khan and a small handful of the sickos that would watch the show if it were 9 hours long. To be fair, I would watch a 9-hour show if it was just more of that Anarchy in the Arena match. But Anarchy in the Arena did not main event the show, as Will Ospreay announced before Double or Nothing that the men's side of the Owen Hart tournament would close out Double or Nothing. It was a match that really could have gone either way in many fans' eyes, but Hangman ended up picking up the win over Ospreay and will now face Jon Moxley for the AEW World Championship at AEW's biggest show of the year, all in Texas. Fightful Select had reported that Tony Khan was keeping the result of the Owen very close to his chest, with talent only finding out the weekend of the show who was winning. And in what has to be the most selfless quote I've ever read out on an episode of the WrestleTalk News, Fightful Select report, Hangman Page actually pushed for Will Ospreay to win, while Will Ospreay pushed for Hangman Page to win. You win. No, you win. No, I insist, you win. They add there was shock among some of the talent who did expect Ospreay to win. An interesting note from the report though, Sean Ross Sapp writes, we've also heard in the past week, Jon Moxley leaned towards wanting Hangman Page to win the match as well. Whether or not that had any bearing on the actual match, we don't know. SRS does add though, ultimately, it was Tony Khan's call to have Hangman Page win. And speaking of wins, Conrad Thompson has shared an update on Jim Ross's surgery for his colon cancer, saying it was successful and doctors are hopeful that all of the cancer has been removed. We would like to send our well wishes to Jim Ross and his family. You've got this, JR. But sadly, we must end on the news of the passing of Rick Derringer, who will be known around the world as part of Hang On Sloppy by the McCoys, but to wrestling fans will be known as the singer of Real American, the iconic entrance theme for Hulk Hogan. He was a huge part of the rock and wrestling era of WWE, producing the wrestling album in 1985 and returning for 1987's Pile Driver, the wrestling album 2. We at WrestleTalk would like to send our condolences to the family and friends of Rick Derringer. But that's all from me today. Check out yesterday's WrestleTalk podcast where Ollie and I reviewed Monday Night Raw in full, and check out the latest episode of The Monday Night War over on Parts Far Known where Ollie and I play WWE 2K's My GM mode badly.